The message didn't trend at first. It wasn't a headline. It wasn't a viral clip. It was a quiet post that appeared late at night, and within minutes it detonated across the internet. Because when fans realized who wrote it, the timeline froze. The words came from Toni Braxton. And the person they were about was her own sister, TAMAR Braxton. At first the post looked harmless, just a few sentences, vague, emotional, almost reflective. But fans with sharp eyes noticed something hidden inside the wording. A reference. A detail. A hint about private reports that were never supposed to be public. Within minutes screenshots started flying. People were zooming in on the wording, dissecting every phrase like detectives trying to crack a code. Gossip pages began reposting the message with captions screaming that Toni had just exposed something TAMAR had been fighting to keep quiet. And then the unthinkable happened. TAMAR went live. Her face looked tense. Her voice trembled. At first she tried to laugh it off like it was just another internet rumor spiraling out of control. But halfway through the live stream, the emotion hit her all at once. Her voice cracked. Her eyes filled with tears. And she whispered a sentence that instantly sent shockwaves through the entire fan base. "I trusted my sister with that." The comment section exploded. People began flooding the live with thousands of messages per second. Some fans were defending Toni, saying there must be a misunderstanding. Others were furious, accusing her of crossing a line that family should never cross. But the real chaos started when someone posted what they claimed were screenshots of messages from a private group chat connected to the Braxton circle. One message read, "She didn't think TAMAR would find out like this." Another message followed seconds later. "Toni thought she was protecting the family." Protecting the family from what? That question spread like wildfire. Within hours bloggers were posting alleged insider claims about private reports TAMAR had shared with only a handful of trusted people. Reports she never intended to become conversation outside that circle. And now the internet was asking the same chilling question. If Toni didn't mean to expose it, then how did it get out? And why did TAMAR break down the moment she saw it? Because according to someone who claims to have been present during the first phone call between the sisters after the post went viral, TAMAR didn't scream. She didn't curse. She didn't even raise her voice. She just asked one question. "Why would you do that to me?" The phone call lasted less than 10 minutes, but according to insiders, those 10 minutes changed the emotional atmosphere around the entire Braxton family overnight. What began as a cryptic social media post from Toni Braxton had now turned into a storm swirling around her younger sister TAMAR Braxton, and the internet was already choosing sides before anyone even understood what had really happened. Sources say TAMAR didn't explode when she first saw the post. In fact, the initial reaction reportedly wasn't anger at all. It was confusion. According to someone close to her team, TAMAR stared at her phone for nearly a full minute before speaking. She reportedly reread the post several times, zooming in on the words like someone trying to convince themselves they misunderstood what they were seeing. Because the implication inside Toni's message was subtle but unmistakable. It referenced reports TAMAR had privately shared with a tight inner circle, documents connected to deeply personal struggles that TAMAR believed would never leave that protected space. Those reports were never meant to be public conversation. They were never meant to become speculation. And they were definitely never meant to appear indirectly in a social media post written by her own sister. When TAMAR realized what fans were already piecing together online, insiders say her first instinct wasn't to call a publicist or issue a statement. She called Toni directly. According to a person who claims knowledge of the call, TAMAR opened the conversation calmly, almost cautiously, as if hoping there was a misunderstanding waiting to be explained. The first thing she reportedly asked was simple. "Did you mean to say that?" The question hung in the air for a few seconds. Sources say Toni didn't immediately deny the post or its implications. Instead, she reportedly explained that she never expected fans to connect the dots the way they did. From Toni's perspective, insiders claim, the message was meant to be reflective rather than revealing. She may have believed the details were vague enough that no one outside the family would understand what she was referencing. But the internet doesn't operate on vagueness. Within minutes of the post circulating, bloggers and fan pages began digging through older interviews, searching for anything that might connect Tamar's past struggles to the hints in Toni's message. Screenshots of the post spread across social media platforms faster than either sister could react. Comment sections filled with theories, speculation, and wild interpretations about what those reports might contain. That's when Tamar reportedly realized the damage wasn't hypothetical. It was already happening in real time. Insiders say the tone of the phone call changed the moment Tamar saw the first wave of screenshots trending online. According to someone familiar with the exchange, Tamar's voice shifted from confused to deeply hurt. Not loud. Not dramatic. Just raw. You knew that was private. The words weren't shouted. They were said quietly, almost like someone trying to process the reality of a betrayal that hadn't fully sunk in yet. Toni reportedly responded by explaining that she never intended to expose Tamar's personal information. She may have believed she was speaking in general terms about family resilience rather than revealing anything specific. According to sources, Toni even suggested that the internet might simply be overreacting to a vague message. But Tamar wasn't focused on intent anymore. She was focused on impact. By the time the phone call ended, the emotional gap between the sisters had already widened. According to insiders, Tamar hung up without raising her voice. There was no screaming match. No explosive argument. Just a quiet realization settling in that something deeply personal had escaped the safe space she thought she had created. While that conversation was happening privately, the public chaos was accelerating at lightning speed. One celebrity gossip page posted a headline claiming the Braxton sisters were secretly at war. Another blog claimed to have received anonymous tips about the contents of Tamar's reports, though none of the claims were verified. The speculation itself became the story, with thousands of fans debating whether Toni had crossed a line or whether Tamar was simply reacting emotionally to an innocent misunderstanding. Then the first alleged leak appeared. A screenshot began circulating on a fan account showing what looked like a message from someone inside the extended Braxton circle. The message read, "She thought she was helping." A second line followed. Tamar never wanted anyone else to know. That screenshot alone ignited a wildfire of speculation. Fans began theorizing that the reports Toni referenced might involve Tamar's health, relationships, or private struggles she had deliberately chosen not to share publicly. The absence of concrete information only made the rumors more explosive, because every theory seemed possible when the truth remained unclear. Meanwhile, Tamar's emotional response began unfolding in front of millions of viewers. Late that evening, she opened an Instagram Live. At first the live stream seemed casual, almost normal. Tamar smiled, greeted fans, and talked briefly about unrelated topics. But viewers quickly noticed something unusual in her voice. There was tension behind the humor, like someone trying to maintain composure while holding back something heavier. Then someone in the comments mentioned Toni's post. The moment the name appeared on the screen, Tamar froze. For several seconds she didn't speak. She just looked down at her phone, scrolling through the comments, as thousands of viewers typed messages faster than they could be read. Some were supportive. Others were demanding answers. That's when the tears started. Not dramatic reality TV crying. Not theatrical emotion for attention. Just quiet tears sliding down her face while she tried to keep speaking. "I trusted my sister," she finally said. Those 4 words detonated across the internet. Within minutes, clips of the live stream were spreading across Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram with captions accusing Toni of betraying Tamar's trust. Some fans rushed to Toni's defense, arguing that people were jumping to conclusions without understanding her intention. But the situation escalated again when another rumor surfaced late that night. According to a blogger claiming connections to someone inside Tamar's team, the reports Toni referenced were never meant to leave a confidential family conversation. The blogger hinted that Tamar had shared those documents only after being assured they would remain protected within a very small circle. If that claim was true, it meant the emotional breakdown fans witnessed wasn't about internet gossip. It was about trust. And the biggest twist of the night came when a second alleged insider message appeared online just before midnight. The message contained a single sentence. Toni didn't think Tamar would see the comments that fast. That line sent the entire fanbase into a frenzy. Because if Toni believed Tamar wouldn't notice the reaction immediately, then what exactly did she expect to happen once the internet started asking questions? And somewhere behind the scenes, according to a source close to the family, Tamar had already asked Toni a second question that would haunt the entire situation moving forward. If you knew how much that meant to me, why risk it at all? The morning after the live stream meltdown, the internet looked like a digital war zone. Clips of TAMAR Braxton crying were circulating on every platform imaginable, slowed down, zoomed in, and analyzed frame by frame. Comment sections moved faster than anyone could read them. Fans were arguing, bloggers were posting exclusive updates every hour, and hashtags tied to the Braxton family began climbing trending charts. But what nobody expected was the second wave of chaos. Because while the internet was still replaying Tamar's emotional live stream, something else quietly appeared online. A voice note. The audio clip was only 14 seconds long, but the moment it surfaced, it set social media on fire. The voice sounded eerily similar to Tamar's, speaking in a hushed but frustrated tone. In the recording, the woman said one sentence that instantly made fans freeze. "I told you that report was nobody's business." Then another voice, softer and harder to identify, responded with something that sounded like an attempt to calm the situation. "I wasn't trying to expose you." The clip cut off abruptly. No context. No explanation. Just enough tension to ignite another explosion of speculation. Within minutes, gossip blogs were posting headlines suggesting the recording captured a private argument between Tamar and Toni Braxton. Fans began comparing the voices to past interviews, convinced they were hearing the two sisters confronting each other long before the drama went public. Whether the recording was authentic didn't even matter anymore. The damage had already begun. By midday, celebrities started quietly weighing in without naming names directly. One well-known R&B singer posted a cryptic tweet that fans immediately connected to the situation. "Family should never be your headline." Another celebrity wrote a message that read, "Privacy is a form of love. Once it's broken, trust bleeds out slowly." Those posts only added more gasoline to the fire. Meanwhile, insiders claimed the emotional atmosphere around the Braxton family had turned tense almost overnight. Sources close to Tamar said she had stopped responding to most messages, except those from her closest advisors. For someone known for her outspoken personality, the sudden silence felt shocking. According to one person familiar with the situation, Tamar spent most of that morning reading the comments online. Not because she wanted to, but because once the internet begins dissecting your life, it's nearly impossible to look away. That's when the second emotional wave reportedly hit her. It wasn't just strangers speculating about her private reports. It was people close to the extended circle allegedly discussing them too. A screenshot began circulating in fan forums, showing a message from someone claiming to know a member of the Braxton family's wider network. The message said, People have been talking about those reports for weeks. If that statement was even partially true, it meant Tamar's private information might have already been circulating long before Toni's social media post triggered the explosion. And that realization reportedly broke something inside her. Sources say Tamar didn't immediately confront Toni again. Instead, she tried to trace how the information had spread. According to someone connected to Tamar's management circle, she allegedly began asking quiet questions to figure out who else had heard about the reports. The answers weren't comforting. Different people seemed to know different fragments of the story. Each fragment slightly distorted. Each version carrying assumptions Tamar never intended anyone to make. For someone who has spent years fighting against public misunderstandings about her personality and mental health, that kind of narrative spiral felt devastating. The deeper she looked, the clearer the pattern seemed to become. Some insiders suggested Toni may have originally shared the information with someone she trusted while discussing family concerns. That person may have then repeated the conversation elsewhere. From there, the story spread quietly through a chain of conversations until it finally reached the public sphere. In other words, what began as a private discussion may have turned into a rumor pipeline without anyone realizing how far it had traveled. But the internet doesn't care about nuance. By afternoon, fan pages had turned the situation into a full-blown battle between sisters. Some accused Toni of betraying Tamar's confidence. Others insisted Tamar was overreacting to a misunderstanding. The comment sections were brutal. One fan wrote, "Toni should have known better." Another responded, "You're blaming her for something she didn't even leak." Thousands of people were debating a situation they only understood through fragments. Then another bombshell dropped. A popular celebrity blogger posted what they claimed were screenshots from a private conversation involving someone connected to Toni's team. The message allegedly read, "She thought the information would stay within a trusted circle." The second message in the thread said something even more unsettling. She didn't expect the internet to turn it into a scandal. That line alone created another tidal wave of reaction. Because if Toni truly believed the conversation would remain private, then the entire disaster may have started with a simple miscalculation about trust. But for Tamar, the damage had already crossed a point where intent mattered less than impact. According to insiders, the sisters finally spoke again later that evening. This time the conversation was reportedly more emotional than the first call. Tamar allegedly asked a question that left Toni silent for several seconds. "Did you ever think about how it would feel if it got out?" Sources say Toni tried to explain that she never imagined the conversation would travel beyond a trusted group. From her perspective, the situation may have felt like responsible communication rather than exposure. But Tamar reportedly responded with a sentence that cut straight through that reasoning. "It wasn't your story to explain." That moment, according to people familiar with the exchange, changed the tone of the entire conflict. Because the argument was no longer about whether Toni intended harm. It was about who had the right to control Tamar's narrative. And once that question entered the conversation, there was no easy resolution. Meanwhile, the internet was still spiraling. Late that night, another rumor surfaced claiming a longer recording of the sisters' earlier confrontation might exist. According to a podcast host discussing the drama, someone inside the extended Braxton circle allegedly recorded a heated conversation between Tamar and Toni weeks earlier. The host didn't reveal what was said in the recording. But they did repeat one chilling line that their source claimed appeared in the audio. "If my own sister can't protect me, who will?" The podcast clip spread across social media like wildfire. Whether the recording actually existed didn't matter. Fans were already imagining the confrontation. And as the speculation grew louder, the emotional gap between the sisters reportedly continued widening behind closed doors. Because according to a source close to Tamar, the hardest part for her wasn't the internet gossip. It was the realization that something she once believed was completely safe inside her family had somehow escaped that protection. And the next conversation between the sisters was rumored to reveal a detail that could completely change how fans see this entire situation. By the third day, the internet wasn't just watching the situation anymore, it was dissecting it like a crime scene. Every post, every interview clip, every past moment between Tamar Braxton and Toni Braxton was suddenly being replayed with a new lens. Fans weren't just asking what happened. They were asking how long the tension had really been there. And then another piece of the puzzle surfaced. It started with a clip from an older interview that began circulating again across fan pages. In the video, Tamar had been asked about family trust years earlier. At the time, the moment seemed lighthearted, but now viewers noticed something different in her tone. Tamar laughed and said, "Family knows everything about you, sometimes too much." At the time, people laughed. Now the clip felt eerie. Because within hours of that video resurfacing, another alleged leak appeared online, screenshots claiming to show messages from someone who had been present during a private Braxton family gathering weeks earlier. The message read, "She told them straight up she didn't want those reports talked about again." Then another line followed that made the internet pause. "And Toni said she thought everyone already knew." Those words ignited another storm. If that claim was even remotely accurate, it meant the misunderstanding between the sisters might have started long before the public drama exploded. According to some bloggers, the situation may have been building quietly behind the scenes while fans believed everything between the sisters was perfectly fine. And that's when the emotional pressure reportedly reached its peak. Sources say Tamar had spent the previous 2 days trying to stay silent, hoping the online speculation would fade. But the rumors kept multiplying. Every hour brought new theories about what the mysterious reports might contain. Some suggested health information. Others speculated about relationships, finances, or deeply personal struggles Tamar had never discussed publicly. The more people guessed, the more distorted the story became. According to someone close to Tamar's circle, she reached a breaking point late that night after reading one particular headline claiming to reveal the contents of the reports. The information in the article was completely wrong, but the damage was already done. Because thousands of people believed it. That's when Tamar reportedly broke down again. Not on camera this time. Just privately, surrounded by a few trusted people who had been trying to help her manage the emotional fallout. Sources say she repeated the same sentence more than once. "I didn't want my life turned into speculation again." For someone whose emotional vulnerability has often been turned into entertainment headlines, that fear was painfully familiar. Meanwhile, the pressure wasn't only affecting Tamar. Insiders claim Toni was also dealing with a wave of backlash that she never expected. Her social media pages filled with comments accusing her of betraying her sister. Some fans demanded an explanation. Others posted angry messages insisting she owed Tamar a public apology. But Toni remained silent. No statement. No clarification. Just quiet. According to someone connected to her team, the silence wasn't because she didn't care about the situation. It was because she reportedly believed addressing it publicly would only make the speculation worse. But silence on the internet rarely calms anything. Instead, it made the rumors grow louder. Late that evening, another twist appeared. A blogger claiming to have spoken with someone close to the family posted a cryptic message that instantly grabbed attention. The message suggested that the conflict between the sisters wasn't just about the reports themselves. It was about what those reports represented. According to the blogger's source, Tamar had shared the documents during a vulnerable moment while discussing personal struggles she was still processing. The expectation was simple: the information would stay inside the family until Tamar decided how, or if, she wanted to speak about it publicly. That trust, the source claimed, was what TAMAR felt had been broken. And then came the moment that stunned fans. Another short video of TAMAR began circulating online late that night. It wasn't a live stream like the earlier one. It was a clip from a private event where someone had recorded TAMAR speaking quietly with a friend. The conversation was barely audible, but one sentence from TAMAR was clear enough to send social media into another frenzy. "I just wanted my sister to protect me." Those words echoed across every gossip page within minutes. The clip was reposted thousands of times with captions debating whether TAMAR's pain was justified or whether the entire situation had been blown out of proportion. But behind the scenes, according to insiders, the sisters had finally spoken again. This conversation reportedly happened in person rather than over the phone. Sources say the atmosphere was emotional, but calmer than the earlier calls. TAMAR allegedly explained that the pain she felt wasn't about one social media post or one conversation. It was about control. For years, TAMAR has lived with the reality that people constantly narrate her life for her. Every relationship, every breakdown, every comeback has been analyzed publicly. The reports she shared privately were meant to be one part of her life that she could process on her own terms. When that sense of control disappeared, it reopened wounds she thought had finally healed. Toni reportedly listened quietly during that explanation. According to people familiar with the conversation, she acknowledged that she hadn't fully understood how sensitive the information felt to TAMAR. From her perspective, she may have been discussing the situation out of concern for the family. But the realization that her words had triggered such a public storm reportedly hit her hard. Insiders say the conversation didn't end with a dramatic resolution. There was no sudden reconciliation, no emotional hug that erased the tension. But there was something else. Understanding. For the first time since the drama began, both sisters reportedly recognized that the conflict wasn't about malice. It was about boundaries. And once boundaries are crossed, even accidentally, rebuilding trust takes more than apologies. It takes time. Right now, fans remain divided. Some believe TAMAR's reaction shows how deeply she values privacy in a life that has often felt too public. Others believe Toni's intentions may have been misunderstood and exaggerated by the internet's hunger for drama. But one truth remains clear. What began as a single social media post turned into an emotional storm that forced two sisters to confront something bigger than gossip. The question of who controls your story. And whether even family can accidentally take that control away. And now the entire internet is asking the same question. Was this a heartbreaking betrayal, or a painful misunderstanding that spiraled out of control once the internet got involved? Because what started as a single post from Toni Braxton turned into one of the most emotional moments fans have ever seen from TAMAR Braxton. Tears on live streams, alleged leaks, mysterious recordings, and insiders dropping hints about private reports that were never meant to leave the family circle. But the truth is, we still don't know the full story. Did Toni truly cross a boundary TAMAR trusted her to protect? Or did the internet twist a private misunderstanding into a public war between sisters? And here's the biggest question of all. If you were in TAMAR's position, and someone shared something deeply personal about you without your permission, even if they meant well, would you consider that protection, or betrayal? I want to hear what you really think. Drop your opinion in the comments right now, because this conversation is getting intense. And the comment section is already turning into a full debate between fans defending TAMAR and fans defending Toni. But before you leave, make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications. Because if new screenshots surface, if that rumored recording ever leaks, or if either sister finally decides to break the silence publicly, you're going to want to know the moment it happens. And trust me, when it comes to the Braxton family, the story is rarely over when people think it is. Stay tuned, because the next twist might change everything.